came across this channel on YouTube by Lydia May. It's rock dot art. I was inspired by her work of art. Absolutely adorable. I thought to myself, what would that look like on nails? And a rock is a much bigger surface, so how would we do it much tinier on nails? This is what I came up with. It took me a few tries, but I got the hang of it for such a small surface. Like with anything, there's a learning curve, and putting it on nails is much, much, much tinier. We will begin with building an acrylic nail. After sculpting and shaping, we'll get right into the details of the dot art. Let's get started. Now this is super, super detailed, so I need some detailed glasses. So I did them on these giant tips first. I didn't want to do it on a rock because I didn't want to sort of set the tone for myself on a rock because it's so much bigger. So I did them on these big tips to sort of get an idea of how to do it. These are giant. They look like little mini bridges. Just so I could get a feel of it. Because whenever you reduce anything, you've got to be careful because it can look very different, super, super small. And sometimes you don't get the same effect. On a rock, it's quite a bit bigger and the dots are very big. So when you shrink it or take a section of it, it can just not even look like what you're trying to copy. So I did it on these just to get a groove of how it feels. And then to get the sizing right, I did it on these, standard size tips to sort of get a feel for it. If I shrunk it down, what would it look like tinier? And quite frankly, I was meh about it. So I almost gave up on it. But then I thought, okay, I'm going to rethink it. And then I did them again. Now I'm starting to keep my pattern and it's starting to get much better. So what I learned was color and contrast makes a big deal and using much tinier dotting tools. So I did buy a bunch of dotting tools on Amazon and look, if you're doing it on a rock, these would be the sizes that you would want. However, I found I really didn't use maybe a couple on these ends, but when you're talking nails, and depending on how big your nail is, you don't need it so big. So what I'm going to start with is building the nail first. I've built all these ones and I painted them all, but I'm going to walk you through how I did it. So I'm just going to grab my e-file and buff up my natural nail, and I'm going to build the nail out first. So I decided to do it all with fall colors. Thought that would look really good. And I watched your channel, this one particular video right through so I could learn how to do it. Believe it or not, there really is quite an artistic way about it. And I'm glad I watched it. It really helped. Oh, this is why I put this on the table. My new e-file, Suzie's Easy File, is out. Ready to go. This is a really nice smooth file. I like it because it goes at a very low speed, which is what you want to do when you're first learning, especially. You don't really need it to go to much of anything higher. I'd never work it more than an 18 or 20. But it's very powerful. It goes up to 35, so it's got a lot of strength and a lot of power to it, but it goes nice and slow when you're starting off. A little dust free. Let's get myself some dehydrator on here. Cleanse the nail. I really want to get to doing the dots. I got my primer on there. Let's bond. And then I'm going to build it with my odorless clean acrylic. It's very slow curing. So if you're learning how to do acrylic, I now have them in a mini size. So you can just enough to try it with a little dropper. We're only doing one nail, so we don't need much in there at all. That's way too much actually. So I'm gonna get myself a good brush. And I'm gonna form this. I could use a tip if I like. You can use anything that you're doing. Acrylic gel, it really doesn't matter. Whatever is your preference to building a nail. I'm gonna do this one in acrylic. And I'm gonna give it a good pinch to get a nice streamlined, very pinched looking nail without using pinching tongs. You can do it all in the form. Okay, well, we don't need that. These are just little mini guys. It's just a little mini set to give you a chance to test it out and see if you like it. So the difference with a clean acrylic or an odorless, you want to use far less monomer, like 3 times less. So get your brush nice and saturated, but drain quite a bit off of your brush. You can see how much I'm draining, I'm holding. And then I'm going to hold in my powder into one spot for about 6 seconds. And then I'm going to place that bead on the nail and then let it absorb into itself. Give it another 5 or 6 seconds. And then with a dry brush, you can go in and start pressing it down and moving it wherever you would like it. So I want to get another bead, drain, 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 collect my powder, place your bead. Clean your brush, let it absorb into itself. And you can see it's not really moving, it's sort of absorbing into itself. Looks like it's done now, and now you can start to move it around and push it to exactly where you'd like it to go. The huge advantage is it cures very slowly, and because it cures slowly, it doesn't release vapors like it does a traditional, and so you don't smell it. It has virtually no smell. And this bead is going to be building the free edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just letting it absorb into itself. And then we are going to push it around. Got lots of time to create. Lots of time to shape with this nail. Don't be rushed. So what you're doing is you're taking your time to make sure that you do a thin cuticle, a strong apex, and an ample free edge. You don't need it thick in the free edge either, but you have to make sure it's thick in the right places. So every advantage you can when you're learning, such as slow drying or slow curing product, acrylic will help you immensely. Got my 6 seconds. I'm going to go in for the apex, clean my brush, wait another 6 seconds, dry brush, and I'm going to flatten some reinforcements to the side there. This is building the apex bead. I'm just going to speed this up as we build out the nail. Okay, don't forget to clean your brush and your monomer, and then twirl your brush along your paper towel, and then cap it up. That's super important. And then we'll put all this away. Make sure you cover your powder. It's really a good idea to do that because you don't want to get any filings in there. And now we're going to file. That's right, I got my new e-file. I'm so excited. This is the box, but I really don't want it on the desk. Just gonna chuck that. Okay, so you want to get yourself some good files. Whether you use an e-file, you want to use both, e-files and a hand file. Use my medium and a coarse and a fine. Oh, and I'm going to need this one too. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to shape this up real quick. Now, when you're using odorless, it has a bit of a gummy, sticky surface. It's just like gel that way. The stickiness will raise to the surface as it's curing. So then you just remove that by running it under warm water, or you can simply file it off. It's a little gummy layer. You just roll it off. So we'll start filing this up. You can skip by this part to get right to the dotting art if you like, but I'm just going to sculpt this up and I'm just going to give a few tips on that. I'm going to get a coarse file and I'm going to start with my sides. I always start with the sides when I'm shaping. Sort of give myself an area that I want to work in. I just get a rough in shape. Now I did not run this under warm water, this one. So you can see that gummy layer. I'm going to leave it on there to show you exactly what it looks like. It takes about 2 minutes to dry. It won't feel dry. It even sounds different. Right? It has a little bit of a gummy surface, so it sounds a little bit different, but it's just starting to cure up. And then you can sort of see that gummy surface and you can literally just roll it off with your file. You just roll it off. You can do all the filing with all your hand files if you like, and or you can grab your e-file. Now I've done most of it with the hand file, so I think I'm just going to file it up with my medium sanding band. Most efficient way, filing side to side. I've seen some where they'll say just file one way. Nope, go back and forth. Been doing it for 35 years. It works extremely efficiently, and it does make your nail fills go a lot faster. So just go back and forth. That's pretty good. I like the shape. It looks pretty good. Okay, let's turn this guy off. And now I will just take a fine file and I will just go around the edges and make sure that there's no rough edges. This won't really change the shape so much. It's just smoothing those edges. In the old days, I used to say, pretend that my clients were running their fingers through a pair of pantyhose. Would they get caught on anything in the pantyhose? That's a great way to test to make sure that you're making it nice and smooth. Okay, I think we are good to go. That feels nice. It feels great. Okay, let's get to the fun painting stuff. I'm going to get rid of all the dust on here so it doesn't get interfered with me gel. Let's bring in our gels. I'm going to do like the fall colors. We have to still paint a base color. So I've got all these fall colors. I just want to decide. I really do like the green. Well, I like them all. This gold color sure says fall, doesn't it? This is beautiful too. I love the Which one do you like, Caraman? Which one do you like better? The red is good too.
Well, they all look great.
They're all very
fall.
fall.
The red pops out.
Does,
I like
doesn't
the yellow
it?
one a lot.
You like
Purple's
this
nice.
one?
Yeah, they're all nice. Go for the yellow and the red.
I call it gold.
Okay, gold.
Doesn't really matter.
It's mustard yellow. That's fine.
It is. It was super popular in the 80s. We used to have jackets this color and lots of tops that color. And shoes. I had a pair of shoes that color. Okay, well, maybe let's go for the gold and we'll do some real contrasty colors. So make sure that you do clean the cuticle out with all the dust in there. Just get rid of it because, you know, gel doesn't really like the dust. And do keep some very thirsty with alcohol lint pads right near so you can clean off the tips of the tools because you want to do that pretty quick. Okay, so I'm going to just throw some color of gel down here. So just put down the gel and as much of a drop as you can. And just make note, if you're working near any sunlight, don't let the direct sunlight get on your tray that you're putting all your paint because the sun will cure it. And I'm going to go with the gold, I think. I really do like this color. I don't know if it likes my skin tone too much. I tend to have a bit of a green, they call it olive to sound fancy. A nice olive tone. So sometimes golds and yellows don't look as good on my skin tone for some reason. It just seems to clash. But I think this is okay because it's strong. Use your nails as tools. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a nuke. So while we're nuking, I'm just going to get the tools. Now these are the ones that I bought on Amazon. And you can see how big they are. Actually, I think there was one more I must have left upstairs, but it's probably a really big one. You don't really need them super, super big. I mean, you can see how giant that was. Mind you, it's not that big. It just, well, I'll show you. If you dot it in there and go on the surface, it's just the end of it, right? So we could actually use that one if you want it that big. So you sort of have to just determine what size of dot that you really want or what you want to begin with. I don't know if I want to start with that color anyway. Okay, so I just found the big ones. I didn't really use the super, super big ones, but I did use the super, super tiny ones because my fingers are kind of on the smaller side and I really wanted those highlighted in detail. So let's start with these ones here. And I've got my alcohol soak pad and make sure it's kind of lint free, really helpful because if you have it with lint and it can get hairs in it, it'll drive you crazy. Okay, so let's start with a big dot. Always start with my big one first. And I'm gonna do it on the side, I think. Okay, I'm gonna use the bigger ball on the end of this because my finger is quite a bit bigger. Thumbs are bigger. I need maybe a little bit more room to get that lighter color. So go straight down on your color because you want to make sure you get a pretty good circle. That's a pretty good circle. Now when you're working with gel, you can do this with acrylic paint as well. But when you're working with gel, you have the option to nuke it a little bit in between. You don't have to, but just be confident you're not going to hit it. Because that's easy enough to do. I did that a few times. Okay, so I need now a bit bigger of a dot. I think I'm gonna go for a bigger one. I'm gonna clean it, make sure there's no hair or anything on it. And I'm gonna go in and take the same color and just make sure you don't make these dots touch. So the idea, if you're doing it on rock, you have a much bigger surface. And what she taught me, Lydia May taught me, was you do a cross, like a T, to start your dots. Now we are not doing it on the big rock surface, so we won't get all the dots in, but the premise is still the same. So I'm gonna do the first dot here. And then if this was a rock, keeping with the same pattern of the cross, she said, you put a dot down here, and then I would put one here, and then I would get some more, because of course, every time you dot something, you lose paint, so the dot can be smaller. And then one here. And so that gives you an even pattern, and then you can go in between. So then I'm gonna put one in between these two guys, and in between these two guys. Now, so to me, they're kind of too close together. I think I did that too close. So maybe I should have nuked the big dot, because I liked the big dot. It was the little dots weren't working for me. Okay, let's get that big dot down again. Clean him off. You know what? I think I'm just gonna give it a quick little nuke because I did like that one. And the little ones, the reason being is because when I do the dots, I'm gonna do some ones in around it, and I won't have enough room to put all those little dots in there. So they were, one or two of them were a little too close together. Okay, so let's try that again. So one dot here, and then actually there's enough room that I could almost do the other one here. And then one here, and then one here, and then one here, and one here. And then I could do the underside ones too. Okay, that's better. These two are a little too close, but I think I can work with that. So I'm gonna nuke it because I'm gonna dent it for sure. And I don't really want to wreck it. So now I need some super, super, super tiny ones. And that is these ones. Look how tiny. That's the tiniest one that I have here. And then out of the smaller, the wooden ones, this is the biggest one. So you can see the comparison. The tiny one is crucial, especially for what I'm doing. And this tiny one has another one on the end here. And I'm going to use that because the dots I'm going to do next are going to be a series around those little dots. But it's going to be, well, I'm going to show you one dot. I'm going to do it in red so we can really see it. So this is where it starts to take a shape and be a little bit artistic. Put a dot right above those ones. Clean it off. I think I'm gonna nuke it. Just sort of like flash cure to just freeze that gel in spots so if you bump it, it won't move. And I'm gonna turn it around and use the tiny, tiny end, that one I just showed you a minute ago, the tiniest one of them all. And I'm gonna dot with red, and this is where I'm starting getting some little designs that comes in now. And I'm gonna bring it all the way down into here. So I'm gonna go dot, 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 and it's getting less and less. I should have dabbed it off. Now I'm not going to probably have enough, so I'm going to have to go dot, dot. Now I find when I go get my red, see how I dab into the red? I will dab on the ceramic thing at least once, so the bigger dot is now removed because I'm trying to do little dots. Maybe even one more time. It's too big. I mean, this is super, super tiny.
one dot that got stretched.
Well, Karen brings out a good point. They're not going to be perfect. That's part of hand painting. You just hope that he doesn't have a keen eye and notices all the little imperfections.
Nobody's looking as close as I am right now.
No, that's true. Except for the viewers. Except you guys. I mean, my finger is actually not a very big finger, but we are like blowing it right up. So you will see every little imperfection. But, you know, imperfection is a part of it. We're not, like that one blurred. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
That guy? Oh,
see
another
the big
one?
circle with the top of the big circle.
The big guy?
Yeah.
This one here?
The one that's touching it. Like a
This one?
Yeah. that's it.
Right.
Yeah, it's stretched out. It's oblong. It's not
Yeah.
quite
It might
circular.
have been kind of like the gel just kind of moved. It's not perfect. But it does look cute, regardless.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's get some different color. I do like this darker green, but I think I'm going to go with the bigger ball on the end. And maybe it's too big. Maybe that's not a good idea, but I'm going to try it. I can always wipe it away if I don't like it. And I'm just going to, maybe I'll just do like offset it. That might sort of take away from some of the boo-boos I made. That looks pretty. I think that helped the mistake that I made.
It's good.
I do believe you kind of hide your mistakes, work with your mistakes, leave your mistakes because...
Oh, they're happy accidents.
That's right. That's what somebody called it. Who was that? Bob Ross, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes, it was.
It's a happy accident. And it really is. You just kind of have to work with it. I mean, it's so tiny. I mean, and you got other fingers that people will look at. So you can sort of distract them with those ones. But that's looking pretty cute, actually.
That's really cute.
So I do like the red because it does outline and really gives the details. But there's another trick that Lydia May said is don't forget to highlight dots inside dots. And so I've got these kind of lighter color circles. I'm going to take a little bit of white. I'm going to take my tiny, tiny, tiny dot. And inside the yellow circles, I'm going to put a highlight dot. I thought that was a great tip. Is put your dots inside dots. She said, don't forget that. And I like that tip. That's pretty, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that cute? It's looking really cute. Mistakes and all. It's looking pretty cute. So we'll just nuke it. And I'm not sure, like I can ruin it by doing too much. And every artist will say that and will learn. So sometimes you got to know when to do. But if you do nuke it in between, if you do make an error and you go too far, you can wipe away the last layer that you don't like. So that is sort of a protection that you can give yourself. Okay.
That's a big advantage with gel, right?
It is, because if you were doing acrylic paint, you couldn't do that.
Or polish.
Or nail polish. Yeah. Okay, so I've got some other colors to work with. Maybe that lighter green. And I'm not bringing the darker color in. I'm not using that at all. So let's do this lighter green and do some dots right in there. And the idea of it is every time you lay down a dot, you want to repeat it to do it the same all over. That's what gives it that real symmetrical pattern that makes it look so good. Yeah, some of these dot sizes, I did not do them the same size as each other, which is, an amateur move, I'm sure. But I'm learning. Ooh, I really like that color combination. Did you catch that, Karen?
Oh, looking great.
It's really cute. Okay, so I'm almost going to finish it now because I'm running out of room. Now, if you're doing it on a big rock, she just kept turning it and just dot, dot, dot. And it just looks so cool. So I'm running out of room because obviously it's not a circular, rock. But I really like that. I think the colors are beautiful. Okay, so of course I can do too much, and I'm tempted to almost do that. And I feel like I'm going to do that because I don't want it to end, but maybe I should just leave it.
Looks great. I don't know.
It does look cute, doesn't it? Yeah, okay, maybe I'll just let it go. So I'm just going to take the smaller one and take the same color green, and just to sort of trail it off, I do a dot underneath that green one that's smaller, and then smaller, and then smaller. So every little green dot, smaller, smaller, smaller. So a smaller one, smaller. Now I can't go any more than that. And then I'm gonna take another green dot underneath that one. And I'm not doing very much pressure so it doesn't leave much of a dot. And smaller and smaller. And right underneath it, smaller, smaller. So just make sure that you're lining it up and you are getting quite a line, because if it wasn't a straight-ish line, you'd wonder why you put that dot there. And that, I probably kind of messed that up a bit. It could have gone straighter. Oh yeah, I did mess it. I'm going to take that off and do it again. So just get your little alcohol pad and fold it in half, maybe even fold it a little bit again. And just that, see that tiny, these two last dots, I'm not happy with them. So I'm going to just erase, see that? I erased it pretty good. That erased it pretty nicely. I wish I did that with some of the reds, but I got a little too excited. Okay, so now they're smaller dots. I only erased the last two smallest dots. So I'm going to dip into my green with the tiniest one, and I'm going to dip it again on the pad there, on the ceramic. And then I'm going to go tiny, tiny. And I think that's straighter, isn't it? Yeah, that's better. I mean, nobody will notice that. I will notice. But there is one more. See, there's a green dot here. I could squish one more little green dot. Anywhere that you could see, you can still continue the design, even though it's not going to complete it. Take advantage of that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to give it a nuke. I think I'm done, but I might want to just do, you know, that big circle that I first started with, the first dot? I might want to put something in there. I could be wrong. But if I nuke it, then I can wipe it away if I don't like it. And I don't know what I'm going to try, but I'm going to get the bigger dot on here. And maybe I'll do the dark one. That seems to be speaking to me, and I could be completely wrong about this. Let's just try it. We might hate it because it's looking pretty good.
Looks like an eye.
Does. I don't know if I want it to look like an eye.
It takes away the lightness of the nail.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't like it. Ooh, good thing I nuked it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, what about...
Could be tiny one.
Maybe that's the problem. That's not bad.
Yeah.
A little too bright. To the naked eye, it looks brighter, but to the camera, it looks really good.
Your call.
It's neither here nor there almost, is it? I'm going to leave it. Okay, then you just top coat it to seal the design, and then we can check out the reveal shots with all of them. I absolutely think this is so adorable, and of course I did them all in different patterns and such. Oh my goodness. I think it's adorable. I love it. If you guys try this in the comments below, let me know what you learned from and maybe different things you tried, maybe different colors. I did all mine in autumn colors, but I'd love to see it in like black and white or red and white. Christmas is coming, red and green. It'd be so cool. And if you want to know how to build the nail beforehand, like the acrylic build, check this out with odorless. Very different, makes your nail game way easier. Check